Azir against, that was Swift as Cassiopeia.
It was. I mean, that makes sense. So that's the big matchup we see on this patch in mid lane, right? It's Azir versus Cassiopeia. So usually someone wants to take one of the pieces away, maybe look for the Azir ban as well. But Kallista's actually the selection away from Denian.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know whether Denian really plays it. Haven't seen it much popping up in his match history. Of course, very hard to find out any more about Denian because he has been out of the scene for a little bit, but we'll have to see how it goes. Alistair being banned away in the bottom lane from Boat. Alistair is so strong in the current meta. It just takes so many rotation of spells to kill him. And when there's two other tanks generally on the map, it's just really wasted ability. So get rid of that support, get something a little bit squishier.
Yeah, that's the same thing for me. It's just in a meta full of tanks, getting effectively a free one for your bottom lane seems like a pretty good deal as far as champions go. So I do love the Alistar ban as well. Morgana, the next ban, they're a big T-Gun champion from this season and last season as well.
Yeah, certainly is. So getting some respect down in the bottom lane, both the Kalista and now the Morgana being taken away. See what this rounds out the bans. The likes of Hecarim still available. Azir that we saw Ryan Master play. There's some huge names still that haven't been taken off the board.
I can't imagine Azir gets left open here by Immunity, but maybe that's what they let through. Rek'Sai being the ban means it is available here, and I think it's a fine blind pick here for Sin.
Yeah, I certainly do, especially if Rosie has picked it up and shows that he can play it. We saw Minky Whale just go absolutely berserk. But maybe it's also something like the Sejuani. We talk about Juves as a jungler who plays a lot of Rek'Sai, a lot of Sejuani, then not really much else after that. We'll have to see what he does go with. That is actually Rosie's favorite champion.
Yes, it is. He's having a bit of fun.
Yeah, so don't look at that one too much. This is like a Blitzcrank hover out of T-Gun. It's just...
Wow, Nautilus, yeah, getting
locked
in. Could be a top laner, of course, for Rosie. You have seen it every now and then start to come up in the regions. Perfection played it last split. Probably, starting to see a bit more play as well, but an interesting support there for Trash, but very strong, very tanky.
Yeah, it certainly is. He's the other kind of free tank in the bottom lane. Can get in there, mix it up, a lot of CC in his kit, so I'm not surprised to see Nautilus getting this priority. Also sets up jungle ganks really easily because of the additional slow, because of the hook in his kit.
I mean, he's got so much CC. You really only need one other to complement it, and then you're good to go in any lane. So I like to pick up as well. Does leave a lot of other champions open. Hecarim, Sejuani, Maokai, Azir. These are all popular champions on this patch that are still left open. But Immunity hovering a high mid just for fun and not committing to anything just yet.
Yeah, exactly right. Taking a while to lock it in. And maybe that is why they went with the Nautilus, because they've gotten rid of the Morgana down there, and they thought the Alistair gone as well. Only really extremely strong support at the moment is that Nautilus locking in. We maybe see a Thresh out of T-Gun as it's about to be locked in as well, and they hit back with two very strong picks.
Yeah, I like this. Doesn't give much away. Very safe utility picks there. One jungle there with Sejuani, and of course T-Gun back on the Thresh. You mentioned high quality supports. I agree, Nautilus is the other third one, but Thresh is almost always going to be fine.
Yeah, Thresh just has that added utility, so even if you touch his numbers or anything like that, he just does stuff with the repositioning, with the catch potential. Not to mention the fact that the box is just such a huge zoning area with all these tanks running around. Very few gap closers they need to walk at you. He's just a very good all-round champion still.
And again, I like this. Doesn't give too much away. Hides their soul laners, Almost any team could play these two champions, so we'll see what Sin want to respond with. Again, lots open here. The Azir was Ryan Master's last champion. Looked great on it despite the loss for the team against the Chiefs. Could go for it here, but again, Maokai still here. That's a big champion for you as well, so it would be not a bad takeaway. But Sin also taking the time with these picks.
Yeah, so it's really slowed down here. I have to see exactly what they want to go with. StealthX actually goes with the Jinx. That's blown my mind because Sivir, Lucian, both available. And that's what he goes with, but they've got some hyper scaling there. Now Azir nearly has to be picked away from them because you get Jinx, Nunu, Azir, and that's just so much zoning potential and so much late game damage.
Yeah, we've seen this comp before. Azir complements all these picks so well. And I like the Nautilus as well. Good at protecting AD carries, almost surprisingly. Just has so much CC that you just sit on top of your AD carry with your giant model and pretty easy. Yeah, just do all your buttons and it's pretty easy to protect it. But that shows a lot for Sin. That gives away so much of the comp already. I mean, Nunu, Jinx, that's pretty much it. You don't need any other information.
Yeah, exactly right. They push turrets so well. They have good zone control. I just love the Riptide on top of the fact that you've got the Absolute Zero. Waiting through all of that slow CC that reapplies. That's the important bit. It reapplies is just so difficult.
Yeah, so Merc Tread's not that handy. I mean, Sejuani pretty good at going in, but Nunu Nautilus pretty good at protecting this Jinx. So Sin gonna leave a couple of their other picks later. Denian gonna hover the Sivir. Still open, of course. Been a very popular pick. Not great against Jinx in a 1v1 situation, but Immunity gonna go with Rumble there for you and Sivir down for Denian.
Yeah, I actually love the pickup of the Sivir. I don't like the pickup of the Rumble. I'm going to explain why. They've got this like big go button. We've already identified that it's very hard to get onto the carry carries out of Sin, so you have to commit all to it. And Rumble isn't that commitment. Rumble is more about controlling zones yourself. So I would have preferred something like a Maokai that could just dive onto that Jinx and really get her in there. Heck, even something like a Hecarim would have been a little bit better in this composition, but in the end, they go for the Rumble. A little bit of mixed damage allows Cheese to take an AD or AP champion in the mid lane, so a little bit more flexibility, but just don't know whether Rumble fits the Sejuani, the Sivir, in the go forward and try and mix it up style.
Yeah, it also doesn't really mesh up well with their Swain comps, and they play a lot of Sivir Swain, or they did at least in the last split. So Sin, they actually have Maokai Azir open as options here. You mentioned Azir already, has actually been given back over to Sin with the new Jinx already locked in, so going to be a pretty easy pickup here, you have to think, for Sin. Going to adjust, though, pick up Lulu instead for more utility, but that is a disgusting team comp from Sin.
That is such a huge team comp coming out there, and Rosie is like the original Lulu player. Played it a lot in the support position, so he's definitely no stranger to the mechanics of the champion, and heck, he's going to be doing even more damage now. I really like what they've put together because Jinx is just going to be built up so much in that AD carry position, and Cheese, he's got a lot of pressure on him now. I would be surprised if he went to the Swain, more likely the Cassidy, because if he does not delete a carry, the game is just going to deteriorate very rapidly. Yeah,
the matchup is fine against Azir as well. I've seen it a couple of times around the world, so I like to pick up two. Cheese, surprisingly versatile mid player, so does have a lot of options here, but we've seen his Swain before, we've seen his Kassadin before. Both have looked fine. Even LeBlanc's open if he wants it, but not good against Lulu.
This guy plays everything.
He does. He plays a lot of champions, so Immunity considering their last option, but I think they want this one.
Yeah, I certainly think so. It's going to get to a point where at the end of the game, it's really Cheese's job to stack up that Rift Walk and then just really try and delete someone. Because as I said, the danger about playing these two threat comps with a Jinx, with an Azir, is, yeah, you do a lot of damage, you keep them very safe, but if one thing goes wrong, all of a sudden a one threat comp is not scary at all. So if he can get on top of that Jinx, on top of the Azir and burst them down with his Kassadin, sets up the consistent damage that's going to come out of Zenk, going to come out of Ryu to have a lot of success in these fights.
Yeah, I like the Kassadin last pick there. I actually don't mind it being paired with the Rumble, especially when they have Sivir. There's a surprising amount of engage they can. Instead of like running at them with CC and tanks, you just sort of run at them with damage and it achieves almost the same thing you'd hope, at least in the team comp. So I agree, it's not quite Maokai Sivir that we've seen a lot of, but there's some good stuff going on here for Immunity's team comp, and if Ryu gets ahead especially, this game will look great for them in the mid game.
Yeah, it certainly will, and you know, they've actually been given a little bit of a favor by Rosie because he's not that inherently tanky himself unless he burns the ultimate, and he really doesn't want to do that, wants to use it on one of his carries, so they don't have really that big 3-tank lineup that I thought Sin would go for. It really is a 2-tank option, which does mean that Rumble may find a little bit more success.
I wonder if that was almost scouting there, because, I mean, it's hard to say yet what Rosie does and doesn't play, but we've seen his Rumble, we know about his Nah. Maokai, every top laner plays it, so you have to think he has it, but it's not immediately obvious.
Yeah, and there's a difference between a top laner that plays Maokai or a top laner that is really good at Maokai. Like Jack Attack Swiper come to mind when you think about Maokai players. They use the kit a little bit more effectively, but we'll have to see exactly how it works out.
We will indeed. And of course, guys, get on Twitter and give us your hashtag SinWin or IamWin. And of course, use the hashtag IamOPL as well. We want to know who you think is going to win this game. Team comps look great for both of them. We looked at Sin's comp and said, that's ridiculous what they've got here, but starting to come around to Immunity's team comp a little more.
Yeah, we certainly are. And, you know, they do have some power spikes that you have to look at. As soon as you get the Sejuani ult as well as the Rumble, you pretty much control Dragon. So that's something they will be able to pick up early. Jinx is going to take a longer time to ramp up than Civil will. So there are some windows they need to look at. But the thing is that League of Legends is about opportunities. It always has been, no matter what meta it is. So the opportunities on the side of Immunity are just smaller than Sin's. It doesn't mean they're better or worse. It just means they really have to pick their time to fight. And if they don't build that successful lead, then Sin's team comp will just get infinitely stronger than they're on the other side of the rift. However, in saying that, if the opportunity is taken, there's always a chance for them to win.
Oh, yeah, and it does have quite a bit of ramp-up time here. So for me, you look at Juves here on the Nunu bot, he's the big one for me because he has to be able to control the lanes early. He can't really get anyone ahead like a high ganking pressure jungler could, but he can at least get in Sejuani's face and just cut off any gank avenues.
Yeah, exactly right. If he can hold Sejuani down, get an early level advantage, and maybe even look for a lane swap and just try and shove a turret in early with Jinx, get her that little bit ahead that we've seen Jinx go off on, there definitely is a lot of potential for Juves to do some good thing around the map. So I like that you called him out. Relatively new jungler, new champion coming out here in the Nunu, a lot of Rek'Sai, a lot of Sedge, as we said. So a lot of pressure on him to be able to force the issue and really start to bully around.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me that Nunu just remains so popular because You think about Rek'Sai, Sejuani, even Gragas, these top tier junglers. They're all really good at one thing. That's getting in people's faces and initiating. Nunu, not really what he's good at. He's more of a support style jungler, so it does take a big transition in play styles as well, not just in general skill and champion knowledge. So it's a big swing here, but the players that can play Sejuani and Nunu, both at a high level, they're the best sort of junglers in this meta.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I think, like, hands down, Gragas is currently the best jungler. He does a lot of things, but Nunu is one of those things that if you are good at Nunu, he is more frustrating to play than any jungler in the game because he takes important objectives. He is very, very tanky, deceptively so. As soon as he hits level 4, you get like 1 ruby crystal on top of it or a sightstone if you get like something good early, and all of a sudden with eating one of the camps, you're just an absolute monster in health already. So I think that Nunu lends a lot of vision control, which is what this team needs because they need to get ramping up, as we keep mentioning, as well as the ability to keep the opposition jungler down if he is able to play it right.
And I think the other thing kind of moving in there is I actually like the double AP against Nunu. We've seen Nunu really good against carries. He's an anti-carry. That's kind of what his ultimate and his snowball do. So kind of getting a lot of magic damage in as well. Even Sivir, not that reliant or as reliant on pure attack speed as an AD carry. Defensively, Juves actually doesn't do that much. So he really needs to get his team ahead.
Yeah, exactly right. And Sivir, all she has to do is wait for that slow projectile to spell shield. And then all of a sudden you have complete free reign until the next one is up. So definitely agree. He's not going to do that much in team fights apart from the peeling element. That's something that's often overlooked in his kit. It's very hard to wade through Nunu.
Yeah, and Blood Bowl, their carry's going all crazy. Yeah, Celtics only needs 1 kill in this comp to really get going. So kind of looking through some of the other lanes. Mid lane's interesting to me. I feel like Azir's fine in almost any matchup at Cassidy will eventually get himself ahead. I'm actually interested in the AD carries, but not for the reason you think. Do you think they're going to lane swap here? Because we've seen Jinx, she does like the matchup, but it can be scary in the early levels.
If it was any other team, not Sin, I would say they're going to lane swap. But with a new top laner who hasn't necessarily played 2v1s as much, I think that it is a risk. I think they may go for it, definitely, because I think that their composition is much better at the 2v1. Lulu does a very good job by herself. Can also throw a support into Lulu's lane, and she's a pseudo AD carry. But if I'm Sin, I'm trying to lane swap, is what I'm trying to say. Yep. But they're also very inexperienced in a professional sense of lane swapping.
And it's funny because, yeah, you're right, Rosie. Not inexperienced at lane swaps in general, but he's always been on the other side. He's always in the support role. So be interested to see how much practice they've had. I think it's crucial to get Jinx happily through her lane here, but Celtics did not have his best showing on Urgot in the last game, despite how good of an Urgot player he is. I think he can make a much bigger impact here on Jinx.
Yeah, I certainly think so as well. And, if you get Jinx that 1 AD item and then put her back in the 2v2, she is absolutely massive.
Well, we'll have to pay close attention to level 1 here as Sin versus Immunity is our next matchup, our current matchup here. Sin on the blue side, I am over on the red, and it's this team's second game here in week 1 of the OPL.
Yeah, and you see straight away, everyone just fanning out, not really giving much away, no deep invasion, which means that, to me, everyone happy with standard lanes unless they're just flipping a coin and looking for it. As Juice, he gets spotted out by a ward, gets some slaps down. Unfortunately, not enough attack speed to get the third one.
No, not quite. Didn't skill Blood Boil, so just going to give it up for now. So as you said, very shallow vision here for all of the teams. AD carries as well, hanging out a bit in the mid lane. Starting to see a bit more of this, actually, which makes sense given that you don't really want to give away what lane you might be thinking about, so just move them into the middle.
Yeah, exactly right. Just ball everyone up, fan out everyone else, and then not really much going to go down as Stealthix, he gets a couple of cheeky rockets in. But overall, this is just going to be standard lanes, and I think this is actually in Immunity's favor. Sivir should be able to shove early.
Certainly, yeah. Certainly early on this matchups always look fine for Sivir. That's true of almost any lane. It feels like Trash Boat as well. Nautilus to me is almost hilariously defensive for a support with so many engaged tools, but you're really better at peeling people off carries or setting up for someone else rather than going in aggressively yourself.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I think he along with Kennen are the 2 premier peeling supports for me right now, and it's so backwards because in any other position, they're the 2 engaged tools you use, but they're just so good at getting people off the AD. I'm wondering whether Trashboat did take the E first, because there is a potential that Jinx just rockets a backline and Trashboat just sits there and riptides it, and they are able to get the early level 2, but we will have to see.
He's actually riptided here just to take out the Krugs, but a really nice Trinket Lord from Immunity. Going to check that out, but think he's going to get the Grump, which means I am have to get to lane first, but they're going to have a slight experience disadvantage coming into the 2v2.
Yeah, experience disadvantage, HP advantage. You see that they're both very healthy. T-Gun, in fact, didn't take any damage for his jungler, which is actually a little bit BM. But we'll have to see exactly how it works out. And, they've ceded control. They didn't push very hard, and now all of a sudden, the Jinx is level 2.
Yep, Stealthix level 2, so going to start start to get aggressive. Trashboat hitting 2 there as well. And immediately they have to play defensive. Trashboat even pulling some of the creeps off there. Although another nice word for I am. We'll see that spotted out. Rhymeister as well. Going to push in Cheese early, but that's certainly expected in this lane. Yeah,
it certainly is. There's a little bit of an engage, but I think that Cheese, this will really come down to how well Kassadin can see us. This is what happens in Kassadin lanes very often, is that you get shoved in and you win or lose your lane, not by harass or anything else, or that is very helpful, just purely by how well you can see us underneath your turret.
You can see Zank there as well. That pathing, he did get quite low because Tigan didn't help him out. But so I am really committed to this 2v2. Getting a bit more health back here, but continuing to get pushed in. And Denian really just has to try and shove this out because as soon as Sin's bottom lane goes back for their first shot, the lane just feels over for Sivir.
Yeah, it certainly does. And, you know, we keep going back to this thing with Zank. So let's just expand on it a little bit. If you are a jungler that takes the Targons, something that can get some HP back, you tank the first 2 hits. The reason you do it is because you're going to get the proc on the first 2 creeps anyway, and you're back at full health. What it means for your jungler, however, is all of a sudden they're sitting on like 150 more HP. They're much safer through their jungle route, especially with something like a Nunu. But that just wasn't afforded over to the Sejuani. You can see she's made to pay for it.
Great spell shield there from Denny and keeps him safe. But Juves is taking the red buff away now. So Rhymeister, enough pressure to keep Cheese out of it. And Zank's going to get there far too late. Very nice wards from Sin there spotted out. And Juves might even go in. Zank has to back away. Throws a ward down, eats a snowball, but Sejuani will be safe.
Yeah, so one thing that about Sejuani is that she jungles reasonably quick, but does take a lot of damage. So this will mean that without red buff, Zank doesn't really have much gank potential. However, taking the camp still gives you a lot of experience. So the right response coming out of Juice here as Trashboat. Wow.
Oh, good lockdown as well. Riptide coming through. Chomper's not quite there, but a good attempt there from Sin.
Yeah, so a lot of damage being traded down there. Juves has stayed very aggressive in the jungle, hasn't gone back for his blue and just sat on the top side of the map. Now Ryu in a lot of trouble. He took the big Krug as well. You can see his hands glowing one more time, and all of a sudden, Cheese probably the shining light coming out of our immunity. We're saying this more and more often.
Yeah, impressive that he's able to get ahead in this lane, but maybe a bit too aggressive on the mana there is Rhymeister, and he's actually going to get forced out in a Kassadin lane. Cheese also ahead here as well, so these Kassadins, you always look at them in lane and be like, how are you doing what you're doing? But perfection in the last game despite the loss, and Cheese now in this one.
Yeah, exactly right, and worse yet, for Rhymeister is his lane was pushing, so Cheese can make sure that that whole creep wave dies and then pick up all the CS. He's going to be about 13 ahead and a lot of experience.
You can see Sejuani coming down as well. Stealthic's getting exhausted. Good flay there from Tigon. Hook lands as well. Heals down low. They want Denny, but Zank flash Q's in. They're trying to take out Stealthic. Zap moves in. Good fade away boomerang, and Sejuani going to get first blood as Trashboat running away there as well. He'll be safe, but no luck there for the AD carry.
Yeah, they had to know that was coming, and both still have flash available as Ryu just survives in the top lane. Rosie putting on a very good performance up here, but that was just greedy hanging on of summoner spells there coming out of the Sin bottom lane.
Yeah, nice and Rosie, but Zank going to look mid lane. Juves has spotted him out, I believe, as Ryu is forced to teleport back. Good pressure there from Rosie. A decent CS lead as Denny, and actually going to go back in, of course, onto Trashboat. But we said it already, Nautilus, just quite tanky, even naturally.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, one good gank out of Zank means that this bottom lane flipped right back where it should be, in our opinion, with Denny and getting ahead.
All right, Master going to go back in. Cheese could be in trouble. Snowballs down. Zank comes in. Q lands onto one. That's not enough. The auto's there. Rhymeister has his ulti. Ulti's in back and gets the double.
Yeah, double kill coming out for Rhymeister. All of a sudden, after falling behind early, 2 lanes that we thought were winning have started to lose. Sin come up with a double kill in the mid lane. They'll pick themselves up the first dragon.
Yeah, Trashboat coming in early for that dragon. Has to walk around it because he's taking a bit too much damage, but good positioning now. Stealthic's going to come in now as well. Juice turns the dragon very nicely around for his teammate. Trashboat going to go home, and Sin going to get their first dragon.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, Sin looking very pretty. A little bit of a lead as well as the dragon. Ooh, can they pick up any exit kills? No, Denian didn't see them, so in the end, they walk out scot-free.
Yep, Trashboat safe and Ryu returns. We're going to look at replay here.
Yeah, so this is just Rhymeister understanding his champion, and once again, immunity holding summoner spells. The flash was available, could have flashed out of some of that damage, instead held it. Double kill goes over for the Azir, and if there's anyone you don't want going on the Sin lineup, it's probably Rhymeister.
Yeah, credit to Juves there as well. It's kind of sensing that counter game, because Cheese, we've talked about it a lot, his aggression often gets the better of him in his lanes, and that was another situation. Hey, I'm winning, it's going to be fine. Unfortunately, Azir's still pretty good in any sort of all-in.
Yeah, exactly right. And there's just so much persistent damage that comes out of Azir, so that's why it's a different lane matchup to play against. Mid lane is very used to dealing with burst damage. little bit different to get used to the likes of Cassiopeia and Azir who do all this consistent damage, and that's why I think they've stuck around in the meta for so long.
I think so too. Anytime you can safely play these sort of mages, why wouldn't you? The upside's just so high in the mid and late game.
Yeah, exactly right. It means that if anyone survives on a Slither, or if you're not waiting for another rotation, you have something in your kit to deal with it. As Juve's continuing to bully Zenk out here in his jungle, knows that the Blues respawn.
Yeah, battle for the Scuttle Crab there as it does run back towards Sejuani. Juve's though going to look around, wants to try and get some snowballs down. It's actually 3v3 right now as the bottom lanes rotate into the river, but they'll give it up as Rymeister just bullying Cheese now, and he is not stopping in this harassment. Cheese might have to go back again.
Yeah, Cheese, he's got the Catalyst, so he will be a little bit healthier, but that's just a lot of damage coming out right now. And something I want to call out is actually Juve's build. Completely disagree with it. He's going for Cinderhulk early, whereas Zenk, who's being invaded, went for the Sightstone. So all of a sudden, Nunu cannot keep up the pressure with the, Sejuani, just because of the fact that going to be able to light the map up with vision, and you can see right now he's standing on a ward.
Yeah, doesn't have his sweeper up, so can't take that out here as Sin called their jungler down, but to no avail. Zenk going to donate the blue buff over to Chi, so that's going to make life a bit easier there in the mid lane, but Rymeister still keeping up in CS, has those 2 kills, has gone back and got the both parts of the Chalice here, and Rosie sitting pretty even on CS against Ryu, but that's twice he shoved him out of lane.
4-man dive coming into the bottom lane. There's a Sejuani over the wall. Kassadin looking to follow.
Trashboat locks him down. T-Gun moves in. Juve's actually rotating back in, and they set up the dives. They do not commit to it, though, and no ultimates available here means that everyone's just going to kind of walk away a little silly.
Yeah, and the thing is that if you leave the Azir lane and you don't get something very good, it's just so easy for Azir to push through turrets. So Cheese immediately abandoned it because a hard push was coming through from Rymeister.
Yeah, you said it already. Azir does not shy away when it comes to pushing down turrets, and that's one of the strengths of Sin's team comp here. We highlighted Nunu Jinx. Azir Jinx can get similar work done as well, and if Sin are just sitting here, actually with a kill lead, up a dragon as well, the gold lead's not massive, but at least they're not dying constantly or getting dived. This is exactly where they want the game to be in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly right. The one lane that I will give credit to is actually Ryu in the top lane, because all of a sudden he's back. Ooh.
Rymeister maybe thought about going in there, but just is patient. Juve's going to come in, help him push.
Yeah, exactly right. They're just going to shove the Kassadin out of lane. But after nearly dying in the top lane, Ryu on Rumble against a ranged matchup is actually pretty even in CS and very even in experience. So credit to the Rumble player up there. He's been able to stick in the lane.
You can see Zenk trying to force them off. So Rymeister, good ultimate there. Juve's actually tanking up the turret as well. Forced to flash as Rymeister is going to take the turret out. Gonna ult Zenk away though. Bounces him off. Juve throws the snowball, and no ulti left means that Sejuani can't quite finish off her prey.
Yeah, but actually gets the ultimate out of Rymeister there. So probably the best that Sejuani could have done. Also got the flash out of the Nunu, so, you know, credit over to Zenk there making the play. Yeah,
Trashboat going to get hooked though. Stealthix comes through. Good teleport though from you. Rosie going to join back down as well. Ulti onto Denian. He's going to get locked up. Rosie's going to try and find him. Kuka, that's great hook following the flash there from Trashboat, but Ryu, he's down in it. Does not have his ultimate. Now just comes out. Wild Growth down onto Trashboat. T-Gun though taking too much damage. Stealthix takes him out. Ryu going to get way too low. No hook's going to land as Trashboat gets a little too low as well. And Cheese, here he comes to play Janitor. Trashboat, he's the first one down. Rosie might be the next as he does activate the shield, but Cheese gonna chase in. Ignite is down. That will get him the kill. Zenk's here as well. And all for all, it's a 2 for 2, I believe.
Yeah, 2 for 2 coming across there. Denian fell and he's walking back in, but in the end, that was a lot expended out of immunity. Rymeister still sitting mid lane. He's got his Athenes already. And you look at the gold distribution so far, 2 onto Rymeister, 1 onto the AD carry, whereas there's 1 on the jungler on the side of immunity. Not really the person you want to get going. Rumble, he does okay with kills, probably doesn't do as well as a Lulu, to be honest, and we'll have to see whether the gold distribution's in their favor.
Yeah, Cheese forced to run away. Rymeister going to chase in, but T-Gun there with a handy lantern. Going to make sure Cheese is okay. Morello Nomicon completed, though, in the top side for Lulu, but we'll see this again.
Yeah, so the teleport came out of Ryu very preemptively, and he didn't have his ultimate. It looked like he almost teleported 2 ult, and Rosie was able to match it, and, you know, Lulu without her ultimate does probably more, and the ultimate's available, so she gets a huge knock up there. Stealthy continues to go, and T-Gun falls down. but the cavalry were in pursuit. And you see already everyone's streaming down the river as we go back to live.
Good ulti though coming through as the absolute zero stop there. Cheese gonna dive back in. Rymeister gets the first kill onto T-Gun. Juice trying to cut away as Zenk is far too low. Rymeister flashes forward, needs one more auto, but he's not quite in range. Calls his Q up there as Cheese, sorry, gonna come through, gets knocked back by the ulti, but blinks through it. Trash Boat gonna lock him down as Denny joins back in, and that's 2 kills there for Sin.
Yeah, 2 kills go across, and once again they're onto Rymeister 4-0-0. This Azir is an absolute beast, just in time for another dragon as well, so they'll pick up their second of the game, as well as maybe bottom turret. Every major objective just going over to Sin.
And we talked about the scaling here for Sin. They needed to wait to get to the mid and late game, but if you just get yourself ahead in the early game where you really shouldn't be, there's the turret does go to Stealthix, and that second dragon's going to go there as well. Totally fine, and this is one of the unique things about Jinx. Great in the late game, fantastic if a mobile hyper carry, but man, can she snowball as well.
Yeah, exactly right. And you know, you look at team comps that generally have to scale, and you're like, but they struggle to get there. Azir and Jinx, they don't struggle to get there at all because their strength is in pushing, so they get themselves extra gold inherently. It's kind of like old Tristana. It didn't make sense because she had such a really brutal like level 1 to 4 and then was fantastic afterwards. Had a huge trough, but these two champions, they don't have that in their kit. They're just so good at team fighting with their positioning. They have very good zoning tools in Chompers and the ultimate. And, you know, when they get to late game, they just do a heck of a lot of damage.
Yeah, we're seeing it already. 6-3 here for Sinners. Trash Put to the top side. Ryu going to get grabbed up there. Stealthix with some good Chompers. No, not quite enough, but Slow is there. Rocket's coming through. Ryu's got no... he's been actually overheated as Stealthix pops out the ulti and takes the kill.
Yeah, so able to get another kill onto the Jinx. She's gone boots too, so full pushing mode engaged here by Stealthix, and he's having a much more promising performance this time on the hyper carry. We'll be able to pick up the last outer turret, and all of a sudden sit in a great position.
Yeah, diving actually as Trash Boat gets that ulti onto Zenk. Zap will follow. Ult does not hit Stealthix. That'll be another cleanup for Juves. Turret's going to fall as well, and everything's going wrong for Immunity.
But Juves, what was that? Why would you take the kill off Stealthix? Rocket was in the air, didn't need to ult. Might actually have been a cooldown too many. In the end, they get the kill in the turret, so I'm sure they're happy, but they don't want kills on the Nunu. They want it on the Jinx.
Yeah, 2 1-on-1 there for Stealthix. Maybe you would have preferred 3 1-on-1, but 4-0 on Rymeister just keeping Cheese at bay with his blue buff and his Athene. That turret's going to stay healthy because Rymeister's just never leaving this lane.
Yeah, exactly right. He doesn't want to. He is the one that continually wants to scale. Don't get me wrong. Cheese wants to get to the late game about 3 or 4 items. Nice hook. Not going in. He wants to get to about 3 or 4 items as well on the Castanet because his job is to kill Stealthix, but he's in trouble.
Yeah, Cheese forced away there. Not going to blink just yet. Actually doesn't have the cooldown lanterns there to save him, but that was a lot of damage, and Stealthix going to have to go short. I'm sure Rymeister's got a big stack of gold to spend. Rosie going to steal away the blue buff, and we said it already, Immunity 4,000 gold behind, but starting to lose every little advantage.
Yeah, exactly right. And that was actually Rosie's strongest point of his game. He's always been a smart player and understands when things are up, and he likes to take the maximum. So counter jungling on the top lane, Lulu gives up a little bit of CS, but he grabs the blue buff, and that's an absolute nightmare. Cheese needs the cooldown reduction because he's not going for it yet. More importantly, though, he needs the mana regen in team fights because otherwise he can't stack up that Rift War.
No, chasing Ryu around the map as well. Rumble has returned down. He's got an Abyssal Sentinel, actually, a Zenk waiting in the wings, but Rosie does have a ward there, and he'll just back away from the potential gank. Sin trying to stagger their backs here and make sure they all get shopsing without losing their turrets, but 3 turrets to 0 is probably the other big part of this game, and Rymeister, he's gone back, he's got Silk Shoes, and now a Blasting one.
Ooh, does take a little bit of damage. Cheese going fairly aggressive. And, you know, Denny, and this is a second rough game he's had. He had a good turnaround gank in the bottom lane, but he was shoved out early and now not really enjoying it in this mid part of the game. And if there's something that Sivir likes to do, it's shove in her lane, but wasn't able to get it done against the Jinx.
And it's the same story. When Jinx gets ahead in your Sivir lane, she just bullies you so well with the rockets that, again, what you want to do is Sivir, be uninteractive as Denny, and actually going to use his ultimate there. They're trying to chase Trash Boat, who's all the way up in the top side. That's a bit too far there for Nautilus. Flashes instantly there. Going to try and find a bit of terrain to hook to. Does find one. Going to keep chasing his T-Gun. Trying to line up a hook, but Sivir ultimate not enough to catch the Nautilus.
Yeah, and in the end, Rymeister continues to shove. Denny takes even more damage. Farm going across onto the carries, and that was a bit ambitious coming out of Immunity.
It was, but they need the pick here. And I think that's the thing that's a problem for Immunity. Sure, they can scale, especially with the Kassadin, but Sin are just going to keep this game in this place. So you might be thinking, they're up 2 dragons. They've got so many kills and towers. Why aren't Sin pushing further? And to be honest, they need to keep scaling towards the mid-game. Fight around the dragons where you can force a fight on your terms. Because at this point, Sin, all they have to do is keep the game at this point.
Yeah, exactly right. They're 5,000 gold in the lead. That's exactly where they want to be. They don't need to take the risk. Take calculated fights. There's a reason that teams team fight generally, and it's over objectives. And right now, because they stole the blue, all the outers are down, and Dragon is up in a minute 30. There's just nothing worthwhile fighting over.
No, so just going to move between the lanes, take out some vision, get aggressive vision down into Immunity's jungle, and just continue to starve them out of this game. I like their turret set up by Rhymaster there as well, and a good rotation gives them good damage onto this turret.
Yeah, so Rhymaster takes some back in return, so a little bit of return damage, but all of a sudden, the whole siege in the mid lane is underway with 2 pushing lanes in the top and bottom, and Sin really looking to get aggressive.
Yeah, I like this pressure a lot from Sin. It's so safe here. Dragon's back in a minute. They'll go back and recall, get their shops in, make sure that they're in time for the next dragon, but they've got plenty of pressure down. They've got, done some damage to the turrets. Sure, it's not going to stick that well, but just makes it that much easier if they do win the next fight.
Yeah, exactly right. So they're just looking to see how far ahead they can really push this advantage. They need to get their ward set back up around the dragon area.
Yeah, just let you know, we do have a pause coming through, but shouldn't be too much longer before that one's underway. We can have a replay as well while we wait through at about 80 minutes into this game. So let's get straight into it. This was the gank early on in the bottom lane.
Yeah, so you can see straight away that there is a little bit of an advantage going over to Immunity because they were able to turn the bad start around. But as we roll this one out, we'll see exactly where the teleports come through. And Trashboat gets a little bit caught, but the immediate teleport through from Ryu, it looks like he has his ultimate, and they're trying to push it, but they realize Ryu doesn't have it, and Rosie arrives in very good time, gets a glitter lance, Trashboat lands the hook, and from here, Immunity just have nothing left. T-Gun forced to run away, gets killed there as well. This is where the gank turns, because look how much closer the members coming down the river are. Zank as well as Cheese on their way, Ryu over to overheat and take someone out. In the end, Cheese is able to grab another kill with his Ignite there as well. Could have been a lot better for Sin. They really did overreach for that one, but a good response came out from Immunity to even it up.
Yeah, just smart stuff. And Trashboat, that was a really sick hook. I noted it when it happened, but he just basically predicted Denian's flash and caught him with the hook after he flashed forward. So good stuff there. Good to see Trashboat, back in the scene on support. Maybe not what he was playing a year or two ago when he was, really prolific in the scene, but still looking just fine in his now preferred role.
Yeah, exactly right. So he's having a very good game actually at the moment. He was able to take them on a merry journey around the forest as well. And the difference between that gank and the ganks that have come through from Sin is the fact when Sin got the double kill, they were able to push through and get a lot of damage down on the turret. When Immunity got the double kill in response, and they really were in a better position right there, they didn't choose to push anything. They conservatively recalled, didn't take much off the map at all. So in the end, every single time Sin get a tiny advantage, they're able to transfer it into gold.
Yeah, so we pop back into the game now. It's all as we check in Immunity, trying to clear out the vision that Sin have put down, but Sin just setting up for this next big objective. Infinity Edge been picked up for Stealthix. Rhymaster, nothing new yet, but Rosie's got a need to see Large Rod to add in. And even Juves, I like the Merc Treads there along with the Sightstone, so everyone's healthy. He's even got the Cinderhulk done, has Nunu as well. Level 11 they're coming in for Azir as well. Even Rosie, actually, that's a big one. Level 2 Wild Growth available. We're going to clear up vision, try and get a pick, and if not, that'll start the fight and force the dragon.
Yeah. Important to note that both lanes are pushing in Immunity's favor. A huge one just crashed into top lane turret. Bottom is stacking up nicely as well, but Sin do have the advantage over the terrain right now as Rhymaster zoning with the soldiers. They could probably just start the dragon up because Nunu not going to take much damage, but they're still kind of mucking around. I think that was a bit of a mistake.
I like what Rhymaster's doing here. Going to continue to zone. You have to think of Stealthix probably has more than enough damage. Cheese going to get forced away as Azir just sets up his soldiers. And this is one of the strongest things about Azir. He zones so well. If you get to set up your soldiers, especially in a choke like that, no one ever gets to walk through his trash boat looking in, but he finds a minion instead and just takes a lot of damage. Denny and going to spell shield the ulti as well. Knocks up onto 2, but not enough for Sin to go in.
Yeah, Sin really don't want to fight right now. They want to get into the bottom lane, but they're still trying to push forward. You see Rosie, he got the red dot syndrome finally, makes a beeline for that huge minion wave, but a little bit of a force there in the mid lane out of trash.
Yeah, probably a good time to get the sickness though for Rosie. Has noted the waves are pushing in, wants to make sure he clears them out. So we'll go down, clear this away very easily with the Glitter Lance AoEing them all down. And that was maybe the one thing that Sin didn't do perfectly when they set up for that third dragon was make sure the waves were pushing when they were going for the objective. They pushed them out first and then recalled, giving Immunity time to push them back.
Yeah, so Immunity just reversed the shove. You know, Sin actually had very good minion wave control when they set up their siege in the mid lane, so it was just actually a very extended response to that came out of Team Immunity, but it definitely was the right response, as Trashboat might be caught a little bit.
Yeah, Cheese does do decent damage at this point, but can't commit here, not having enough vision of the rest of the team. Little does he know, no one really there to punish him just yet, but Rosie's pushing the bottom side. They might have to go deal with him as well, and Sin just applying strong pressure across the lanes.
Yeah, so Sin, they're just trying to continue this pressure-style game, exert as much as they can, make sure that they don't have to fight, pick up a 4th dragon. They're on track for a 5th dragon at like 32 minutes, by the way, so they're very early in that, and they have a team fighting comp, which is just all the more terrifying. So they've got their win conditions mapped out. Just continue the pressure and continue to scale.
And they've got all their turrets up as well. It's so hard for Immunity to make moves and even try and create picks to get themselves back into the game when they don't have any terrain to move over with. They're basically the only options they have to fight if Sin overextend in their jungle and then they can have a pick, or if in the neutral areas in the river where the big objectives are. And that's already what Sing want to do to them. So Immunity, the gold lead doesn't look like that much at this stage. It's only 4,000 or 5,000 gold up for Sin, but the amount of pressure, like you mentioned, that they're being put under at this point is almost impossible to count with a gold value.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's just because you're not being allowed to play proactive League of Legends. Everything is being forced by Sin. In saying that, one thing about Immunity's lineup is they, shove really well. So if ever they win a team fight, Civil will rip through turrets in her own right. So that really is something that you have to pay attention to if you're Sin, because one mistake costs you a lot.
Oh, actually going to gank onto Ryu here. Ulti does get down there for Nautilus. Ulti channel there for Juves as well. Juves going to get locked up for a little bit as they chase in, but Juves gets the first kill. Massive hook from Trashboat. Forces Cheese to flash, but Rhymeister going to dive in over the turret. Push Zank back into the Chompers. And Sin, what a wonderful team fight.
3 for none. They're going to grab a turret, possibly even 2 as Stealthix gets excited. And all of a sudden, we said that Immunity need to look for a mistake. Sin capitalize on their own.
Yeah, just a great dive there coming through. Rhymeister, very clever positioning, getting himself over the wall to push the 3rd and final kill into his team. And that gold lead starting to mount up as well. Baron even a potential option in the next few minutes for Sin. Don't find us an obvious place to push. We're going to get the turret they've prepped earlier.
Yeah, exactly right. They've done a little bit of damage in there. More importantly, the wave clear's gone, so they'll be able to chunk that one out. No initiation tools because Zank was dead. They pick up 2 turrets and 3 kills. Very successful play.
And I like a lot what Rhymeister's doing here with his build. Went for Void Staff second, a very current Faker-esque thing to do in your mid laners, because it's just so much upfront damage as a 2-item spike. You don't normally think about mid laners this way, but if you want to snowball and get aggressive, this is usually the item you go to.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's because, you know, Merc Treads are being picked up. Things like the Abyssal Scepter are now in the meta, so wow, Denian.
Trashboat gets grabbed though, Cheese dives in, gets the kill onto Trashboat and Sin. Their first misstep in a while gives Immunity a free kill.
Yeah, so they're able to pick up a kill, but once again, they don't get anything for it. Denian went too low. They can't shove in the lane. Top lane is pushing into the turret, but no one's up there to capitalize. Wow, Cheese.
Oh, Rhymeister ults him back in. Cheese gets polymorphed into a cupcake, and Rhymeister, that was a tag team.
I have absolutely no idea what Cheese was just thinking. That was basically suicide, and Rhymeister made him play with a very nice Azir set coming into turret range, and they're pinging out Baron.
Yeah, they might look for it now. Rhymeister going to at least take the Scuttle Crow down. Pink Ward plopped into the pit as well, means that Rosie actually going to go around the side to clear out the board. Very cute there from Rosie, but really safe on the Lulu. Has his ultimate ready and the flash as well. Immunity, they've been playing reactively this whole game.
Yeah, they certainly have. And look at the minion wave once again in the bottom. Credit to Sin. Let's take another look at this play. Rhymeister really ruined Cheese's day there, but Cheese just had no right to play aggressive. He's losing already. And Rhymeister is like, what, 6-0? He was 5-0 at that point. Just don't fight the Azir.
Yeah, has a needlessly large rod now, as well as Juice. Looks like quite a bit of damage, actually. Has an Aegis, so Denian's decent damage doing work there, but Rhymeister, blue buff still there apparently. Might be a visual bug on that one, but he's been over for quite a while. Going to move in. Blood Bowl's on him now as well. I mean, you look at Stealthix, you might think he's the carry. He's got his 2 items, but I think Blood Bowl might be better served than Rhymeister. Is Denian not where you want to stand? Zap Wheel misses Denian flashes, but that's a flash that the AD carry couldn't afford to lose.
Yeah, exactly right. There's just way too much damage coming out of this Azir at this point in the game, and you know, they're throwing hooks at the Nautilus. I don't even know if they want him. Sin really looking for a team fight right now. Not able to find one, but Dragon's up in 23 seconds, and Immunity have no way of contesting it.
Sin just buying time here. 8,000 gold ahead for Sin. Baron up now, Dragon up soon. Rabadon's done for Rosie. We've got the Aegis done already for Juves. And righteous scoring there from Marco. Zenk going to get caught. A hit trash, but just a whole train of CC, and Zenk does actually get in. They didn't quite channel that properly. Good ulti keeps him safe. Rocket will miss, but Juves flush snowball secures the kill.
Yeah, but Rhymeister, wow!
Oh my god, 1v3 gets a kill onto Denny and gonna force Cheese away as well. The rest of his team's here. A great hook gives Rosie another kill. And Rhymeister, you can see why that reputation's there. 7-0-1 now.
And Sin are looking terrifying. Going to be able to pick up a 25-minute Baron. They're 10,000 gold in the lead, and what the heck is going on? Rhymeister with the 3v1 grabs the double.
He's got a Baron buff now as well. Gonna grab his blue as well, because why not? I think he deserves it after that play. And for me, the question, I believe Sin were the ones to ban Cassiopeia in this game, and Immunity just didn't want to ban away the Azir. They saw it against the Chiefs in the loss that Sin had. Rhymeister still put on a show, so I don't know about giving this guy the champion. Maybe Chiefs were just happy with the Cassidy counter pick, but at 7-0-1, Immunity can look back and think, you know what? That might have been a mistake in the draft.
Yeah, it certainly was a mistake in retrospect, because he's played it extremely well once again. And I think the teams, when they are preparing for Sin, wow.
Yeah, Trashbot actually going to tank everyone, but Rhymeister will join back in. That's everyone else getting out, though. Seagun lands a hook on a Jude, but it's just going to channel the ulti. A Rumble Lord is down there. Zenk's going to go down as Rhymeister just picks him up. Ryu's going to get his ear sack back into the team. There's the double. Flashes out. T-Gun's dead as well. And it's 4-0 right now for Sin.
Yeah, and Sin with the Baron buff going to be able to push up mid lane. Rosie going for Cheese gets chunked out.
Yeah, massive damage there despite the 3-level discrepancy there for Rosie, but Sin is going to keep pushing. Don't really need the 4th Dragon when they can break the base.
Yeah, exactly right. They've got the Baron there. They're going to be able to take it out, of course. Dragon's still going to be there on the retreat, so there's no real rush in taking that one. They're still on a very good click for the 5th, and Sin own every single piece of this map.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it's been that way for the last 10 minutes, it feels like, but the last few team fights, when everyone's gotten to their 2.5 item power spikes, are just so evident in this game. Blue buff going to get stolen now and given to Rhymeister. Dragon, if they want it, is theirs, if they can take it as well. Telepot's coming to you. Immunity just going to put in the surrender, and I can't blame them. Sin wasn't quite one yet, but it was pretty much an inevitability at that point.
Yeah, that game was pretty over. They had the Jinx going. They had the Azir so far going, it wasn't funny. Even Rosie, as you said, 3 levels above the mid laner. And that was just honestly a really beautiful performance to watch. Sin outclass the Immunity lineup, and Immunity were looking good last split, now starting to really struggle. Yeah,
I think the new lineup changes still adjusting there for Immunity as they go 0-2 here in this week, but we have a replay from that last game as well. I have a funny feeling Rhymeister's going to be in here somewhere.
Yeah, actually, I don't think he's in this one. So this is the bottom lane turnaround coming through. So when we roll this one out, we'll take you through it one more time. T-Gun lands the hook, and they really hit the go button here, Immunity. And they look like they're going to get something good, but Rosie, he responds. And now is when the call that everyone starts moving bottom lane. They're starting to like pack up the kills. Sin doing a very good job here. Flash comes through, keeps Ryu safe, and they're still running down bottom. They just know that they're going to make it there in time. And Ryu, he has a really good turnaround. Cheese gets a kill on the back end of this, and you know what? At this point, Immunity looked like they were doing extremely well in the game. They were roughly even. A lot of their gold was on the carries they wanted it to. It was just that Sin exerted way more pressure when they were able to win team fights.
And we saw the draft there from Sin and said, this team comp is perfect for this meta. Nunu, Jinx, Azir, that's a great core in any lineup. They completed it very well as well with the Nautilus and the Lulu. To play as well as they did with that team, because that's not easy to do, is an even a bigger sign of class for me as a new team.
Yeah, it certainly was. And, you know, I think we got another replay to demonstrate just how classy this outfit is, because you see right now, this is the last team fight coming through. They're about 11,000 gold. They've got the Baron, and they engage on Trash Boat. So when we roll this one out, that is a support Nautilus. And they burn an ultimate. They pull their jungler in. They're looking to kill the Nautilus. But really, that Azir behind him, it's about to do all that damage. That's who they should have been hitting. Azir able to pick up 1 kill, goes in for the hero play, gets Ryu, flashes back over, keeps himself safe, picks up, I think, the triple off the back of this. No, they give it over to the Lulu. And overall, that was just Rhymaster really making a case for him to be one of the huge mid laners to watch in Oceania.
Yeah, great positioning there from both Juves and Rhymeister. Channels absolute zero in the choke. Even walled it off with his ultimate as well, did Azir. It was great positioning. Picked off the last kill around a ridge because Azir, and then flash back in for the next one with the ultimate. Great stuff from Rhymeister. And that's 2 Azir games in a row. Only 1-1 as far as the winning record goes for Sin, but I think quality performances from Rhymeister both times.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, you know, he is 2-0 on that champion because he was able to take the lane off Swiffer, now took it to Cheese. He's really having an impressive start to the season.
Yeah, looking great there as well. We're going to check in with Swiffer in a quick sec as well. Congratulations, of course, to Sin for taking it here and finishing 1-1 for the week. But I love